name is Jag and I run an architecture practice in Helzone called PUUC Architectural Design Solutions. So we're a boutique architecture practice that offer all architecture services in-house. So we're pretty much a creative studio that does designs for residential clients, commercial clients, and businesses that are looking to extend their premises or build on brownfield sites. You know, my journey pretty much started in architecture when I went into university. My family background, there's a lot of people within construction, so I didn't want to get into the manual labour side, so I went down the architecture route. I enjoyed art and ceramics and painting. I actually wanted to do a BA in fine art, but I spoke to my parents and they're like, no, you're not going to be an artist. There's no sort of work and career in that. So I thought, well, what other industry can I go into? And then with my family background in construction and building, I thought, well, what about architecture? We do a lot of designing, we do a lot of visuals for, buildings, and then I started off in that. Joined De Montfort University in Leicester, where I did the BSc Honours in Architectural Design, Technology and Production. Did a year out as well to get some really good work experience, and then pretty much started working from 2005 for a lot of creative fit outs. Worked for an interior architecture company designing, bars, boat houses, park resorts, butlins. So I've worked on quite a lot of schemes. I've worked on some of the British Schools for Future projects. I've worked on some of the schools up and down the UK. I've worked on some of the big industrial parks. So I've worked for, without mentioning obviously the companies, I've worked for a firm which we did a 200,000 square foot unit. So within architecture, what I always tell people that are younger than me or looking to get into the field as well, it's a never changing, it's always changing. There's always new regulations, there's always new guidance. There's always certain things which change, as we know with Grenfell, making sure that you design something which isn't going to just go up in flames and potentially damage people's lives. Because architecture, one of the fundamental ongoing training is CPD. And if I don't do so many hours a year, which is 35 hours minimum, so if you look at that, it's a couple of hours a week, or just if you did it weekly, you could, do less than an hour. But in a month, you need to do at least a couple of hours. So it's very important within this field because architecture is very governed by, many statutory authorities. So whether it could be the fire guys, it could be health and safety. So it's constantly evolving. So what might have been evident one year, it could have changed because there were certain legislation changes. And that's why it's very important for us to constantly learn and evolve. I've been in architecture since 2005. I've been through the recession and I've worked for some really big companies and been involved in many projects. But I kind of set up my own architecture practice last year, and I set up during COVID. I was working for an architect before that and they had to let me go during furlough. And they said, and then afterwards they said, look, Jag, we've got to tighten our belts and we're going to have to let you go. So a lot of people can see this as a negative, they can say, well, there's not a lot of work out there. Corona and COVID's really impacted businesses. But I saw it as an opportunity, to grow my own business, which I was running part-time for the last 6 years. And I thought, well, now's the time to do it. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So the whole plan was to just work from a home office and just work on small residential properties. So clients that had a single story extension, we'll just draw those up. But people started to realise, that I'd set up by myself. They go, Jag, you're working on your own business. Can we get involved with you? Because we know you from the other practices. Yeah, when I started working from home, there was a lot of hours being put in. So it's not something that I'm proud of saying, but I'd easily do about 80, 90 hours a week. So it was serious hours, and then informally I'd just be on my phone, checking emails, looking up ways to kind of grow the business. So I was doing a lot more than that. So literally I was working throughout the day, and then I'm also married, so I've got family commitments, I've got young kids, so it was challenging. There's a lot of people that want to be successful, they want to make money, but then how do you do it? you without realizing there's a lot of successful people around you, so you can utilize them. So I was speaking to a lot of family and friends who run businesses, but at the same time, there's everything on your phone without realizing. You've got social media, Facebook, Insta. I was researching what's happening with the market. You know, how can I advertise my business? Where are people looking for, you know, architects or people to design extensions? So I was looking at places like PUUC. There was Facebook groups. I'm probably on about, I can't even count how many groups on property that I've researched in Facebook, and you know, I've got a lot of business out of them. Yeah, so with all the hours, I thought, well, I can't keep working like this. You know, I'm fairly young, but got a few years of experience behind me, and I thought, well, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy to work these sort of hours. So I took on an intern initially, so I trialled him out for about a month, and just to kind of get some experience on managing someone under my own business as opposed to working under someone else's. And it was really useful, you know, it worked out, and then I took the big step of employing my first employee back in October, and then I took another employee on just before Christmas, and then I realised that I've got to have a premises. So I signed up during COVID for a COVID secure offices in Hellzone, which is where I'm based. So we got the offices here, and we've been here since January 2020. Very fortunate, you know, that without my team, you know, there wouldn't be a practice here. So I think it's easy to say, well, you know, it's me that set it up, and it's because of me it's all happening. But if I didn't have my staff working with me as a team, this wouldn't work. So I think it's very important to, you know, appreciate all the people that work with you as well and go through the journey. So you know, Jordan and Chad were the first employees. Obviously Chad left us just before his year that went up, and Jordan's been with us over a year, so she's one of my first employees. And then we had Ryan that joined shortly after. We moved in January 2020, and he's with us. We're looking to grow all these guys, so as the business grows, you know, we'll be investing in them as well. So you know, Ryan's currently doing his Masters in architecture, so when he finishes that, we'll support him to become a full professionally qualified architect. That's the plan. And then with Jordan, she's going to be going with her Masters, so we're going to be supporting her and taking her through university for her Masters. We haven't told one of the apprentices yet, but Mitchell, he's shown a lot of good assets, and he's shown a lot of enthusiasm. So when he finishes his T-level at college, we're going to be offering him a apprenticeship through us. So he'll be going through architecture at university and working with us as well part-time.
My name's Jordan. I got involved in PUUC because when I finished university, which was in lockdown, I started applying for local firms in the area. I only live Hellzone 2 minutes around the corner from here, and I seen that obviously Jack had a firm not far, so I emailed him my CV and my portfolio. Ended up getting back in touch with me in November of last year, and offered me a job straight away. So when I joined, there was just me and Chad, so two of us. And then when we moved into these offices, Jag asked me if I knew anyone who was good at doing 3D renders and things like that from university, and that's where Ryan comes into it. Yeah,
so I'm Ryan. I've been here near enough a year now. Just finishing up my part 2 of my Masters in architecture. So yes, I just found Jag by sort of the recommendation from Jordan, and then yeah, been here a year now.
So we both come from the architecture course at university, which is everything. So it goes from design to building regulations to concepts to looking at how things work on sites. So my main kind of role now is like drawing up the existing and then coming up with a design when I've spoken to the clients on what they want. And when we've come up with a design that they like, I submit it to the planning, and while it's going through planning, you tend to do 3D renders for them so they can visualise what it looks like, and then when it gets approved, Ryan will do the building regs.
Yeah, so like Jordan says, I'd look at the 3D visual so the client has an idea of what the concept's going to look like. Cause most people that aren't in the sort of construction industry or design industry can't really visualise what something is on pen and paper. So they like to see an actual visual of how things are going to work, then they can obviously have chats to Jordan, I don't really like how this looks in visual. And then that saves a lot of hassle changing things on site afterwards if you can, the client can decide obviously at this stage if they like something or not. And then I look at obviously the stage 4 onwards on the REAP scale, so more the building regulations like we were talking about earlier. So yeah.
So I like mostly kind of helping people get what they want out of their properties or whatever. So people have an idea but normally don't know how to show it. So I like to talk to them and kind of get their ideas on paper, kind of on the computer, show them what it will look like, create spaces that they want to work, things like that. So I like kind of the design side more than anything.
So yeah, for me it's just seeing how things work. I've got really interesting sort of technical details. So yes, I like to take that idea and then actually show that it can actually work in sort of real life.
But then there's also been another really good success story as well. We've had Isaac, who's been with us just over 6 months now, and he joined us on the Kickstart scheme, and that was a government-funded initiative to get youngsters between the ages of, I think it's 18 and 24, who were currently claiming universal credit into paid employment, which was initially 25 hours. So Isaac came through, the Kickstart initiative. He was clearly a very intelligent, chap to start off with. He went to university, graduated in interior architecture and project management, and he's been with us, during the 6 months, and he's successfully, done the 6 months with us, and we've offered him a permanent contract. So now he'll be with us full time as of January. So what we're working on now is we're doing quite a lot of commercial schemes. So you'll look at inner city town areas such as Willenhall, you've got Wolverhampton, we're doing schemes there. And they're high street, shops that could have been former banks. And now what we're doing is we're kind of making them into another commercial unit, and we're doing apartments above. So we're doing probably, since I set up the business to now, we've done probably close to 150 projects plus, and that involves big residential properties, involves small residential properties, involves commercial units, interior fit outs, industrial units. We're doing a doctor's surgery, we're doing a dental surgery, we're doing apartments, so there's a whole mixed bag. And we're also looking to get involved with another scheme which will be 14 new homes and 10 apartments. We're also looking to get involved in a historical conservation site. So it's a very historical site in the Black Country, and we're looking to completely create a master plan, a scheme which will bring that to light as well. So my roots are, I grew up in an inner city area of Birmingham, Handsworth. A lot of people know it. It's an area which is very close to my heart. I've still got a lot of friends and family from the area. Did all my schooling there, grew up there. I went to Matthew Bolton Primary School, which is in Handsworth, and then I went on to Holyhead School, and then I moved on to a college in Erdington, Josiah Mason, and then straight after that I went to Leicester, and that's when I moved out of Handsworth, and then came back and then bought my first house, moved on to Quinton. Family and friends are definitely a big influence. I think my wife, she's probably the biggest influencer, and she's one of the biggest rocks behind me. If you haven't got a strong foundation and people behind you to support you, then it does create a lot of struggles. I've got a lot of family within businesses, so I think that really helped. But it's the pure determination and drive. If you've got it in you that you want to make something, it will happen.